One of the easiest and best ways to stand out as a candidate is during your interview, ask great questions. And this is no different with Salesforce. In today's video, I'm going to give you 6 powerful questions you can ask in your interview with Salesforce to stand out as a great candidate. Now, this is video 4 in a 6-part series. So if this is the first video you are seeing of this, go to the playlist and you can catch up on all the other videos. And at the very end of this video, right over here, I will actually tee up the next video so you can seamlessly go through this video to the next one. These 6 videos together should form a complete course that teaches you everything you need to know in order to get hired by Salesforce. All right, let's go. Now the first question is, what do I need to accomplish in the first 12 months of being in this role that will make you feel like this hire was a success? I think this is a great question for a lot of reasons. One, you need to know what their expectations are. I would never take a role without knowing if I felt like there was a good chance of me completing the assignments in front of me. Do I feel like I can live up to their expectations? Do they have well-formed, well-thought-out expectations? If the answer is no, and they don't have great expectations, that's a problem. If the expectations are too significant, they're unachievable, that is a problem. It also is a great question because it makes you come off as someone who is thinking ahead. It's a powerful question, smart question, strategic question, and it's a great question to ask for a multitude of reasons in your interview. Now, this next question is great, and it really depends. Have they been there for a long time or a short time? But if they just arrived, if they're like a new hiring manager, the question would be, what is it that attracted you to Salesforce? And if they've been there for a long time, it's what keeps you at Salesforce? This is a great question for a few reasons. I like seeing how passionately they answer this. Do they glowingly talk about why they have stayed at this organization for so long? That's a good sign. It probably means it's a pretty great place to work. On the flip side of that, if they go, hey, why do you stay here? And they're like, I don't know, pays the bills. Well, that's not very inspiring, right? But it's also a good time for them to share with you. In the interview, people who are interviewing candidates do a lot of listening, and they don't do as much talking. But if you give them the opportunity to talk and to share their perspective, at the end of the day, they're probably going to have a more positive recollection of the interaction because just from a psychological standpoint, people like talking, they like sharing. So allowing them to share can be a powerful way to make them remember your interview more positively. But in addition to that, when they share what it is, make a mental note, and then you can write them a thank you email and you can actually reference that. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. I really appreciated you sitting down and asking me questions and answering everything I said. Specifically, it stood out to me that you mentioned you stay at the company because of blank. I found that to be incredibly compelling and etc. Right? That way you can make the actual thank you email more personal and more impactful. Hey, if you're finding value in this video, do me a favor, hit that like button. It's free, it tells YouTube I don't suck, and it motivates me to make more videos like this. Also, if you're already willing to do that, hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss one of my 3 free weekly videos, all designed to help you land your next dream job and maximize your career. The next question is, what would you consider to be the most challenging aspect of this role? I love this question. It's basically how they say to you, hey, why did you leave your last role? Or what's your greatest weakness? This is like the candidate version of that. That's you asking them, what is challenging about this role? If I take this role 6 months from now, what am I gonna hate about my job? That's essentially what you're asking. And companies don't get asked questions like this a lot. They don't get asked this question, but it's a great question because it gives you some insight into the job and what it's gonna be like and what your future challenges might be. Another thing that's really powerful, that's kind of like a secondary thing here, is if a hiring manager can't tell you what the most challenging facet of the job is, they probably don't know the job very well. And that's a problem. If you are a people manager, you should know what the hardest part of your people's job is. And if you don't know that, you're probably not tuned in. Great question to ask. Now, the next question is a question I love to ask leaders. And it's, what are some of the strategic initiatives you're hoping to roll out over the next 12 months? It's a great question, right? I personally value strategy in a leader. I want to follow someone who's got a strategic mindset, who can think of new innovative ways to stand out from our competition. That's important to me because good strategic leaders increase the long-term viability of a business. If someone is an effective leader, they're innovative, it increases the likelihood that you'll be able to stay there and you won't have to look at a new job in the future because they've tanked the business, right? So I love asking questions like this to, one, get an insight into their strategic mindset, but also get an understanding about how my job might change in the future based on the things they want to do. That's a powerful thing because the job exists today as it is. But if they have big, long-term strategic initiatives that are going to change this role in a significant way, well, before I accept the job, it makes sense to know that. Another solid question. I love this next question. It's, what are some of the skills and behaviors of the most effective people on your team here at Salesforce? What you're basically asking is, hey, your best people, what makes them the best? And they're probably going to share with you attributes, skills, experiences, behaviors. And that is really valuable for you to know. Because if they say, oh, well, I think the thing that really separates my best people is they work really hard and they're relentless, right? That's just an example. Maybe it's not that. But you can say, that's awesome to hear. In past roles, I would say that's what's allowed me to succeed too. Because I've spent extra time going above and beyond doing A, B, C, and D, right? It allows you to acknowledge and then also let them know that, hey, those things that have made people successful, I also share those attributes. So I would also be successful. Now, you don't want to say it as plainly and as straightforward as that, but you can absolutely allude to it by saying you share some of those strengths and behaviors that they lay out here. This next question is a closing question. You ask it at the very end of your interview. It's the last question you ask, and it's, do you have any questions or concerns about my ability to do the job? And when you ask this question, one of two things is going to happen. One, they'll go, no, I feel like you would be able to do this job and you'd be a great fit. At which point you let them know you are interested. Well, that's really great to hear. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. I've loved everything I heard today, and I'm really interested in next steps. Every hiring manager wants to hire someone who wants a job. This will not erode your leverage, because you're not doing enough to really erode your leverage, but it is letting them know you want the job. Or two, they will say to you, actually, Ben, I do have concerns. You don't have as much blank experience as I thought you might. Now, this is good because this gives you an opportunity to rebuttal it. Now, you have to rebuttal it in a way that isn't defensive, right? If they say, Ben, you don't have as much sales experience as I thought. Hey, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I don't think I did as good a job as I could have highlighting my sales experience in my resume or when I've expressed, my background to you. But I actually do have a decent amount of sales experience at ABC Company. I did sales there as probably about 30 to 35% of my role. And some of the numbers I was able to achieve were blank, right? And you can actually counter it in a grateful, gracious, non-defensive way. And if you can do that, you're going to increase the likelihood of you getting the job. Now, another powerful thing you can do to increase the likelihood of you getting the job is in your interview, you can work to come off as a cultural and value alignment fit. And I teach you how to do it in this video. Most candidates do not do this, but it is one of the more powerful things you can do to increase the likelihood of you getting the job. So I am done here, but I'll see you over there.